Okay, so the panel today is about fintech associations. I was with the bear and my friend in the yard talking about next spring. Guys, thank you very much. I have another hat as Vice President of Rofin.Tech Association. And my role, just like was me in Cosma, from time to time we go and meet other fintech associations in other countries. I was in Warsaw 2 weeks ago. I'm going to Brussels next week. And I'm so happy. You cannot hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, of course.
It's just a matter of...
Yeah, I have an issue with my...
Okay, so what we are going to discuss today, because we fintechs, we try to fill some gaps that banks just, they cannot fill. So we are faster, best movers, great technology, and I would like to discuss in each country because we have Ukraine. You are from, sorry? Yeah, you just use it.
I'm from Germany, but stepping in for Arturo, who's Spanish, so okay, I gotta go both.
Great. I'll let you introduce yourself. We have Bulgaria, and we have Croatia, and we have Luxembourg.
Finally, they never invited me to be panelist. I don't know why, but thank you for having me.
That will be discussions, just like a dialogue, and if you have questions, it's first time, and I think it's the only panel. I tried to ask questions. I was failing. I didn't get the possibility. So we are going to introduce like 10 seconds, which country you are from, a bit about your ecosystem, so what your association is doing, and then we'll move step by step towards how us, FinTech and FinTech Association, can help with financial inclusion and how we can work together, because, we are 27 plus 1, so 28 countries, but still we are not a federation. So we need to work together and we need to innovate, because otherwise Americans, Chinese, Russians will come after us. So please introduce yourself.
No, just click.
No? Oh, okay.
Yes.
No, it's okay. So my name is Rostyslav Dyuk. I'm chairman of the board Ukrainian Association of Fintech and Innovation Company. Come from Ukraine. So our ecosystem is around 200 plus companies who work in fintech fields. Association focusing on building this communication platform between the government, market, and market like classical player like banks, telecom, and retail, and help to implement this new technology, digital finance, because it's not a question if the digital will be our future. So it definitely will be, and we need to help government and society to implement it. And also, so the role of association, as you mentioned, for me, it's like ideal sandbox to test new technology, to test some business model and collaboration, because banks are very regulated. And the same in EU, I think the same, so the same in Ukraine, the same in EU, because you can't grow innovation inside the bank because everything that you do against the regulations, like operational risk or something like this. So they need fintechs to test new future that will achieve next day. So it's something that I think the main role of what fintechs can do. And
so Rostyslav came by car from Ukraine. He drove like a few thousand kilometers. Some applauses for him.
He spent 2 days,
here.
2 days on the road.
For what he's doing for Ukraine. And then we'll move ahead. One word is I work with Ukrainian people, developers, good school, just like in Romania, just like in Germany, Bulgaria, and Croatia. So let's see what Germany is doing about fintechs.
Right, so my name is Ralf Ohlausen. I'm chairing the European TPP Association, and Arturo is actually the vice chair of that European TPP Association. So we were yesterday here on stage already together, and so he's also chairing the Spanish FinTech Association.
So we have another country on the panel.
Yeah, well, so that's, and of course what we do in the main, there and in Germany and in the European context that we are acting in, is basically helping customers to make more out of their data. It's about unlocking the data held by banks, but in the future with open finance, also by insurances or even elsewhere, and help those customers to reuse that data in a better way with other service providers, more services, broader services, cheaper services, and that's what we focus on.
So what we do as fintechs, we tap into the bank's customer base.
No, well, it is a common customer. You know, what we help is allowing these customers to use services which they may not get from their bank.
Yep.
So without moving their money or their data
Don't
to
touch the money.
another
Yeah,
place.
no, we touch the data, right? So that's what we do.
You stay at your bank, you stay at your insurance, you keep your data where it is, but you can still unlock it and use other service providers using that very same data for more services.
So it's data sharing. So Filip, how is Bulgaria? You speak many languages. You speak Romanian, Greek, and so on.
I do. So we founded Bulgarian Fintech Association in 2018, I think. Currently, there are about almost 100 companies in the Fintech Association of Bulgaria. We have a very active board with a lot of events, and lastly, we have entered into talks with European Confederation organization, with neighboring country fintech associations, but also with the regulator, like Central Bank, and with the Bulgarian Financial Crime Authority for seminars and stuff. We also have a very good sequence of events for the members and for the non-members. I would say the community is very vibrant and growing. And we start seeing recognition both from the industry and the banks and the regulators, because they kind of see us as showing some directions that they might consider following later on after they see what's happening.
Yep.
And also from the public, which fintech was not actually on the map in 2017. Now they start seeing these companies as a possible service provider for everyday services they are using.
So we are very good friends. We have a kind of Romanian Fintech Association, Bulgarian Fintech Association. We issued a report 2 years ago.
We have a joint report.
And you are doing much better than us, I have to admit. So yeah, I'm Romanian, but Bulgaria is a little bit more advanced than we are. Now Croatia, how big is Croatia? How many people?
It's now a bit less than 4 million. We're shrinking.
4 million is the size of Bucharest. So how many fintechs you have in your association?
We still don't have an association, so we are way back behind you. I'm a board member of the Blockchain Association. I'm a founder of the biggest financial conference there, and in the last year we started founding the Fintech Association. On the list there are 25 initial members, founding members. That's way below the numbers that you guys were mentioning. And right now on the agenda, what we have is the initial steps. Talking to the regulators, we had several meetings in the Ministry of Finance where we got reactions, oh, we didn't know we have those problems. So we are solving stuff that you solved probably 10 years ago, and only slowly building the whole ecosystem.
So you also feel the regulators' gaps. So they don't know they have that issue till fintech ask for something.
Yeah. For instance, they have this the document below the law. I forgot what's the name of this type of document. It's outdated. They totally forgot they have this, and we thought they are enforcing that. And we told them, but this is not manageable. And that was okay. We forgot about this piece of paper. We'll change that.
Yeah, we have seen that in Romania too. When there are two companies with PSD2 license. And authorities were not well prepared at that moment. So actually worked together to get licensed. And that's interesting because that's what we do together, and we need a state, we need a national bank, we need a bank association for moving ahead. So some of us will try to stay unregulated for as long as possible, but one day you need a license. One day you need a list ISO. But now, LHoFT.
Do you have a sandbox? You guys have a sandbox in your respective countries? No?
So tell us about LHoFT, because in Luxembourg, how many banks are in Luxembourg? How much money
Over
is there?
220.
It's unbelievable.
So we have a very domestic market on the retail side because we have 500,000 people, so nothing, a neighborhood in Bucharest, but we have the second fund industry in the world after the US, and we have over 220 banks. We are the biggest family office center, the biggest microfinance center, the biggest payment center in Europe. So yeah, we have over 300 fintechs. So the LHoFT, we are a foundation. We are kind of an association, so we federate over 300 fintechs in Luxembourg. We incubate around 95 fintechs. We are one of the biggest fintech incubators in Europe. And we also have 210 fintech members that are not based in Luxembourg that we federate. Because the LHoFT, our job is not just to help fintechs, our job is to help the financial industry. So we are the kind of the innovation platform for the financial industry. So when a bank, an insurance, and asset managers need something, they call us. So our job is to find the most innovative companies in the world and bring them and connect them with the Luxembourg market. So we have 210 fintechs all worldwide. One of them is from Bulgaria. It's called Omnio, a great RegTech that you guys have. So yes, we have fintechs all over the world. What about Romania? Because maybe people here don't know about Romania.
Well, you know, the Romanian Association, I was one of the founders. We started in 2020. And the only reason, and our objective was, and it is, to interface with state and with the banks. Because if you go each by one to a national bank, you don't get an answer. So you need an association. We need to work together. We need to help each other in order to deal with regulators. And it's not just national bank, but also ASF, Financial Supervisory Authority. It's about ADR. It's about just like in any country. Our association is a little bit different because we decided that to be a member, you need to provide financial services. So you are not a developer, you are not a lender, you are not a bank, you are not IFNE, small lender, you are a financial service provider.
So you have to have a product.
That's why we are only like 25. Because it's a tough environment, we don't expect to have more than 50 maybe next year. I know you talk about hundreds. Poland has 400 fintechs. In Amsterdam, you see 1,000 fintechs. So it's not a matter of kind of report to how many fintechs to population. It's about the status and how you can become a member of each association. Now, our association is non-governmental. We don't have any sponsorship. We have just membership. We have partners, banks on the other side, like banks and consulting companies and other fintechs coming from Poland, like Blik, for example, is a supporting partner, or Fintech OS, which is also a supporting partner. We are very, very strong on that, and it's an association that is just volunteering. We have just one person hired, and the rest of us, we volunteer. I don't know, how is it in Ukraine? Because you have 100 guys to take care of.
No, I maybe say it wrong. So 200 plus is the whole market. So we have like 15 associations. So we have like quarter of the whole market inside the association. Some of them is, try to play independent, but
so what you do for your members? How you help them?
Mentioned, yes, the main role. So association is like, first of all, communication platform between different stakeholders. And as you mentioned, national banks. So national banks hates when the company come and say, okay, you have mistake in legislation, or we need something to implement this technology. So they piece it off, and they even can take your license in other parts of the world. So if we come as association, as unity of the market participant, they start to listening, because you can, have partners from the donors, you can have partners from EU Commission, you partners with another associations, and bring some wisdom to them. So this is good. Second one, it's help to build the strategy. So we build the fintech strategy for the country, and it's good because regulators don't know nothing about fintech when we start to do this, and they come and say, okay, we don't nothing about the fintech, please help us. And it's play a very important role because we draft the agenda in which we live now. So this is like makes sense. We was lobbying of some changes to legislation to make it the same as EU have, because fintech is a global thing. You can't be just local fintech company. You need to think how you can collaborate and work in other markets. So it means that you should be compliance with legislations, and it's hard to have all like different legislations. Better to have one, for example, across Europe, and you should be compliant with this, and you will work with it. So, as about team, we have around 10 persons who work for Fintech Association. So we have different streams. So we have this, as I mentioned, communication. I think it's the most important. We have analytical streams, so we provide some reports about the market, Fintech catalog. We even have some like ranking of best companies in different nomination. We provide top 50 women in Fintech in Ukraine, so it was very funny because all of banks try to be in jury in this ranking. So it's the way how we collaborate with bank.
Cool. So now the question is, do you have a sandbox? Because Alex asked for.
So we don't have it as in classical definition, but we try to negotiate that association could be this like place, even virtual, to discuss some things and test some business models. So in theoretical sandbox, but we're thinking how we can make it like practical one.
What about you? How do you see that? Do you need a sandbox, or you have already one in your association?
We don't, but we do consider. And yeah, maybe speaking again for, I think in Spain there's about 100 or so fintechs in this association. And what we do there and what we're doing on a European level is a lot to do with, well, we're trying to improve obviously the ecosystem from a fintech's perspective, which has a lot to do with lobbying, either in Spain, well, with the central bank, or which is also the regulator there, or on the European level. We do that too, but we should not forget that what we believe what is achievable by regulation is not enough. It is just really some basics. So what we focus more on than lobbying and regulation is collaboration. Yeah. Collaboration with the banks. And if I may use the opportunity here to correct Dave Birch, who said that there is no European standard. There is a European standard. We have worked for 5 years with banks to establish the SEPA payment account access scheme. It is launched, it is there. We even have a commercial model. So as a bank, you know how much you can earn. And I would invite the banker speaking earlier to have a closer look at it. Also Visa. I mean, I don't know if everyone knows, Arturo used to, he created the first third-party provider in Europe back in 2003, which was then, like 2-3 years ago, bought by Tink.
Tink, yeah.
Who was then bought by Visa. So I think it's one of the, exactly that thing that is happening here with Visa, like almighty Visa, going into this space with account to account has a lot to do with the work that has come out of fintechs, in this case, Arturo in Europe, it's in Spain.
Okay, great. So nice perspective. So how is it, Filip, how is it in Bulgaria? Because we are supposed as fintechs to help financial customers, either financial institutions or retail. And we are supposed to educate somehow. Do you have that in your association objective, like, you know, financial inclusion should be increased by 5% or 10%? Can fintechs in Bulgaria help these people, both companies and private?
First, let me say that in our association, there was a big fight in the beginning, you know, who we should have in the association and who we should not have in the association. And we settled that companies providing financial services are voting members, and we also have associated members that are, I don't know, like lawyers, auditors, software providers, all banks also. We had a couple of banks that were like just, you know, doing some intelligence work, or we don't mind. And it is important to understand what the others are doing and who are the people behind, because the biggest problem now is risk. And as Warren Buffett put it, risk is when you don't know what you're doing. And this dialogue helps people get acquainted who is doing what. And this, in some manner, is lowering the risk, which is like the main problem everybody have. Regarding the sandbox, I think this sandbox thing came from Greece, where they had a a joint project between Accenture and the central bank. And then we tried to replicate it for Bulgaria, but it took us like 2 years for the central bank to accept the idea, and then somehow we lost velocity, and now I don't know what it's doing, but the central bank already accepted that they should have a sandbox, but we don't have a sandbox yet.
Not yet. Okay, cool. What we say is that we can learn from others, other countries, like you try to learn from Greece, or you learn from Ukraine, or you learn from LHoFT, or French association. I like very much the Polish association I visited 2 weeks ago. You said you were in blockchain? And
yeah, so...
my question now is, do you see us, because, we talk about MiCA, DeFi, blockchain, and like David mentioned, is blockchain still there? We need it, we use it, what is just a buzzword? Do you think that fintechs will be ever faster movers in terms of using blockchain, DeFi, and crypto and so on, or we should just stay put and see how it goes? Because the regulations are not yet in place. MiCA is going into enforcement this December, actually. Yeah. How is Croatia and fintechs in Croatia doing in this area?
I will follow up on what you said about learning from others. So when we started with the foundation of the Fintech Association in Croatia and talking to the Ministry of Finance, first thing I did, I phoned up Alex. Thanks to Petra who introduced us. If you're looking for a fintech hub in Europe, you have to talk to Alex. He's doing the best thing.
Thank you. You're very nice.
And after talking to him, we looked into some other countries, and then we got back to our Minister of Finance, and we told him, yeah, just ignore everything else. Just go to Luxembourg and see what they're doing. So we are definitely learning.
So it's not Brussels, it's Luxembourg.
Pardon?
It's not Brussels.
What is Brussels?
Yeah, what's Brussels? Yeah, when it's about money, I know you are richer than Brussels, indeed. So go ahead, please. Continue.
Yeah. So we are learning a lot. Thank you for this opportunity also to talk to the other organizations. I'm sure we can learn there a lot. Regarding the blockchain, I wouldn't take it as a separate topic. If you need the blockchain, you use the blockchain. If you don't, if you can build your products without using, it's a technology. It's like a shovel. If you don't need it, then don't use it. But definitely, what we are seeing right now. A competitor of ours 2 hours ago posted on LinkedIn. They are building a remittance service, crypto remittance service, and we are also building a remittance service using stablecoins. And he had the post like, please, somebody help us. We need the contact in Twilio or whatever, because we have issues. We are hockey sticking. We are exploding in numbers of users, and we cannot process all of the SMSs that we need.
So this is time for collaboration, right? Or
yeah, of course. But my point was they are building, and we too, for the last few years, a blockchain remittance service, and everybody was telling us that we must be crazy because, what's wrong with remittance? Why would you need the blockchain in remittance? It works fine. There's like several companies that do really nice service, and now they are hockey sticking. Obviously, I know why we are doing this, because I think we can do it better, faster, cheaper, and stuff like that, more modular. They are doing it the same, and the market is proving them right. So to answer your question, if you are thinking about using blockchain, don't. If you see that blockchain is solving a problem for you, then use it.
So it's just a technology. It's a piece of technology. Use it or not. It depends on the case you have it in hand, right? So now going back to
can I switch a little bit, change a little bit the dynamic?
You want to?
Because I think, so the Fintech Association, I see some benefits of it on the lobbying side, maybe education to the regulator. And of course, fintechs have a purpose, and I agree with David. If the bank have a very thin margin to invest in innovation, they need help and they need support, and that's where the fintechs are helping. To answer your question, David, in Luxembourg, 60% of the IT cost goes just to compliance. So you don't go to jail the next day, and you are still open. So it's 60% compliance, the rest is just, indeed 5% maybe might go to innovation, and even there is not the case. One of the biggest frustration I have is we talk a lot about collaboration between us, but the truth is we are still extremely fragmented in Europe, and we cannot get our shit together. Our best fintechs are going to US for IPOs. So what the fuck is going on in Europe that we are so behind US and Asia today, and even in some cases behind Africa, because we run acceleration program for Africa, and trust me, those guys are really good. So the question is, because we are all trying to compare each other, who has the biggest one, and yes, only guys on the panel, so of course, makes sense. And the thing is, we try to collaborate, but every time it's okay, come to my country, or I'm doing better than you. So I don't know, it's an open question. How can we be more competitive on the world stage, not just on the European stage?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So to tie to the previous question, you mentioned markets in crypto assets, blah, 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 blah. This new crypto regulation has a €0 threshold for some kinds of transaction, and that's a really big problem, and it's a result of French lobbying. So when it was in the work group, there were Germans, there were French, there were no small nations, and basically Germans said, okay, we'll go with the French side, and we have €0 threshold, and now we have problems. Okay. I have a few friends in our fintech community, and for the last 2 years, we were discussing this. So to veto anything in the EU, we need 7 votes. So here we have Luxembourg, you talk to your Minister of Finance. We talk to our Minister of Finance. I guess in Bulgaria, you can reach your ministry. I mean, we don't
have a government.
We call it the small countries strategy. So what we need is 7 small European countries with strong fintech associations talking to their ministers of finance, telling them, okay, but this is the reason why we should forming a bloc, and then we can push our narrative. That's exactly what you just now said. We are completely frank with it, and we just need 7 small nations to push our own narrative on the rest of the European Union, and we really need to talk about that.
Okay. That's a good idea. Bulgaria is not a small, you are a big one. So
it's not big. I just want to add one thing that Alex mentioned, so very important also awareness. So association bring awareness to the market. For example, just Ukrainian example, we have research about blockchain, and it's the most popular inside the banks because all the bankers in public say, okay, we know about crypto, we know everything, but then they come and you need to explain to them as for children how it's work. Because they can't, accept that they don't know how to work it. And we have panel about AI a couple of weeks ago, and everybody in panel discuss how they implemented it in their banks, and then they come after this to us and say, okay, can you please explain us how to better implement it? So awareness is very important in terms of association, and I'm totally agree we need to build this strong unity to change this behavioral and change the understanding of.
So what you say is that, and Nicola said, we can actually educate the regulators, we can educate the banks, so
and society how to use it.
Not we can, we should.
But we are the small guys, right? So okay, we have an eye on technology, future, vision. We talk to people like David and Chris Skinner and others, but still we are too small to educate. I thought that's always the financial system.
But it's not about size, it's about expertise. It's about
That's
knowledge.
True.
And the knowledge, we have the knowledge.
We have time to learn, and then we can teach. I understand. How is in your country, in Bulgaria? Because you are most advanced than many, but you don't say much. You are like in quiet mode.
I just want to point to the elephant in the room regarding fragmentation. And this is the fact that all fintechs, at the end of the day, they require the backbone of banks or central banks. And all the banks in Europe, they are fragmented. You don't have banks that act as an European entity. Even large banks, group of banks that have presence in multiple countries, each country is a separate entity that doesn't really talk to the other entities. And this is where, I cannot imagine that in a united Europe after 10 years, if you want to do business, whatever business in all Europe, you will need like 27 accounts in 27 countries or for whatever service. And this service is not available now, today, in the banking system. And it will not be available anytime soon. And fintechs are trying to have a trans-European or a global footprint, presence, product, service, but the backbone they are relying on is national. It's only national. So it's very difficult to this is the biggest problem that comes from this fragmentation thing.
So going back to what you said, we are fragmented. We are 27 countries plus Ukraine, maybe Serbia, and other countries which are not part of the Union or Republic of Moldova. But if you compare,
I'm not even talking about from countries that are not in the European Union, even the countries in the European Union, even in the SEPA, in the European area, they are still fragmented. And if you do service in one country, you don't do service in the other country, and this is a blocker.
But just a sec, because I came from the US, so in the US is a huge market, it's a huge competition. There are some kind of associations, but they don't care much about. But what they have is, they have Silicon Valley, and they have 50 states, and you just do business wherever you want. Maybe you need a license for a specific kind of business in different, like Utah or other places. But the market is huge. Our market is even bigger. We are fragmented because we have boundaries. We talk about associations, not about banks. Don't care about them. So how we can have just like a Silicon Valley from Bulgaria to the south to Luxembourg and go to France? How we can get unfragmented? How we can get united? Because it's not. We have our own central banks. We have our own regulators. They are also regulated by the EU, right? Can we skip that? Can we be faster? Can we be...
So I think, for me, there is two answers. The first one is the regulation, and I go with Mika and stuff like that. We're going to go there. But the second one is having a European culture, an European mindset, which we don't have. We are 20-plus countries in a block. The US is quite different. They have a US fucking flag, a US spirit, a US mindset. We don't have that. But that's just my personal opinion. And when we have your opinion, guys, let's open for the last minutes.
If you look a little bit at this,
yes,
it's only about finance. Because in trade, in tourism, in open borders, we are doing fine. Europe is like a big United States of Europe. But in finance, this is where the biggest fragmentation comes.
That's the problem, my friend, is we are becoming a tourist destination for the world, but we are nowhere regarding technology, finance, and the rest. But whatever, that's my...
I think the greatest illustration of what you are saying now is yesterday's presentation by CEO of Blik. He has this great slide with countries. So we are talking about the most technologically advanced part of finance. Fintech apps, these are all startups, guys with bright eyes, and they cannot talk to each other. They have like this group, Portugal, Spain, Italy, then there's Nordics, then the Blik is in these countries. How complicated it is for those disruptors, for those startups to connect to each other and to have a joint settlement network or something, and they didn't build it. This shows that the mindset is we are not one country, we are not one fintech ecosystem. We're just a group maybe of 5 regions or even worse, 30 countries.
Okay, so you have your say, please. You're the last one.
And then we have to run because lunch is waiting for us. Go ahead, Ralf.
I just wanted to say that what does unite is actually regulation. So we, as in third-party providers, which were also not organized, we did organize 5 years ago or 6, whenever, when PSD2 came along. We had a common enemy that strongly unites, believe me. So this is when we created that European organization covering the interests of TPP in Europe, and our members represent 90+% of volumes in Europe. And just because it's funny, so I often hear the term that in Europe we are actually also the Silicon Valley of regulation.
Yeah, that's the innovation part. You don't have it.
Yeah, I just want to add one more angle for this discussion, and for me it was very disruptive these days. I will finish with this idea that I catch it. So fintechs come with waves when the big techs like Google, Amazon, Facebook change the behavior of people, how they use technology, how they use application. And then people want the same from the financial sector. And then fintechs come into the market. And we as association, fintechs was like translator from this new customer experience that people want to the banking system, which was very classical and, very traditional. And now the ideas that stuck in my head after the David speech. So are we ready for this if the consumer will use this AI, start to be more smarter than fintechs and banks are? And we need to understand that financial system uses asymmetry of information, and this lack of trust between people to make money. And now when the consumer will be smarter, the financial system ready to answer this question. So we need to think maybe it will be our next point of differentiation on how we will reflect this idea and be prepared to help banks to deal with this new problem. Because fintech solve problems, that's it. Otherwise, it will not exist. And here, potentially, how we can collaborate, building something, exchange the information and use cases through the Europe to make our local representatives more stronger. And I think, so Alex has the best example how you teach government to listen, and we need to teach from you how to teach our governments to listen of such a kind.
Because we involve them, we involve all the stakeholders. Our goal is not to build a fintech, pool, it's to build an ecosystem. And that's the presentation of Visa before. It's about the ecosystem, and everybody has to be fucking involved. We are running out of time, but do you allow me to also ask the entrepreneurs that are in the room maybe to ask a question, or even better, what should we do?
Yeah, what do we expect from fintech? If you
association, foundation, whatever. Who are the entrepreneurs in the room? I can see Madeleine over there. He's hiding. So I'm going to take the mic. So you have 2 seconds to think. Just introduce yourself.
Thank you, Alex. I'm Madeleine Staniu. I'm from Black Bullet, a cybersecurity company. And one of the biggest things that the association should make is to connect the bank with the entrepreneur providing the technologies, and as well with the regulator in the market of each country. So basically, this is one of the best assets that we have, because the association are the link directly to the public sector where we can make business.
So
there.
To be a facilitator.
Yeah, a facilitator.
That's what you guys are doing, I guess, right? Any comment on that?
Yeah, this is actually, you're right. This is what we do. What we try to do, at least. We are successful most of the time, but that's what we have to do. Yeah, sometimes as fintechs we should be the pacifier, like you said. So we should do that very nicely and easily. And if it doesn't work, then we can change it. We can have another strategy. We can pivot. The banks, they cannot do that, right? So that's our advantage. So David, you have a question? No?
No, but David, I want to ask your opinion. What the fuck should we do in Europe to be a bit more competitive? You travel the whole world.
Access rules to understand. Seriously, that's what I was reading.
You were reading what?
The separate account access rules, because I wanted to understand what the difference between the Berlin group dynamic.
We talk over lunch.
Yeah. So in terms of the fintech associations working together, you mean?
Yeah.
Thing?
How to be better on the world stage competitively speaking.
The one really good thing that we've had in the UK coming out of this is the sandbox, the FCA sandbox. And so in terms of practical things getting done, I'd much rather focus on things like that. We can have all the lobbying we want and whatever, it doesn't matter. But if we want new companies, if we want to compete, frankly, the sandbox is the easiest way to do that. And I think a focus for countries that, for countries to have a sandbox just to get people started, with an exemption for the first 10,000 people or something like that. I don't think that's that difficult to organize.
It's up to 8 million in Luxembourg if you want to start.
In Luxembourg it's much better, but to me that seems like a practical, easy step. So
I think the European Commission are starting to think, because they think about having one extra country in Europe. It's going to be the European country. So you as a company, you are not registering as a Romanian or Croatian company, you register as a European company. It also means we might have specific legislation for startups that will be European startups, not whatever country.
Could I just reinforce that as well? Because there's so much talk about API standardization in Europe. And I work a lot with the Berlin groups. We're spending a lot of time on this API standardization. But this is not what will take us really to where we have to go. We have to do reference implementation of these standards, because these standards are broad. And every bank implements them in a different way. What we need is a reference implementation, one that works, done in a sandbox. And that's exactly what they did in the UK. And what we're not doing in Europe, we are talking about these standards which are not concrete enough to actually tell the banks, okay, this is the way to implement them, and not that way, and not that way.
Awesome.
So Nicola,
Yes.
you want to say something?
Just one, to reiterate one important thing. So you mentioned banks. Having a fintech association is not enough. Sandbox, great, not enough. What we need is a hub where founding members are fintech association, banks, Ministry of Finance, and probably some consultants, and they have meetings, and this is the only way that we really facilitate communication with the banks. What was just mentioned as the biggest pain point. So, of course, fintech associations, but then they have to go to banking associations and to regulators, and then work together.
Okay, so
One
time
last
is
word.
up. I have
Last
one
word, yes.
thing is, because I want to thank you on the behalf of the Romanian Association. So any member of your association willing to do business in Romania, we are here to help you, to put you in touch with Ministry of Finance, with Central Bank, with other fintechs, with all financial supervisory authorities, with Moderator, because we think that we need to unite. And if we don't have, and even if we have that piece of technology, competition is good. We need it, and we can really work together. That's the only way. We are 27 plus countries, and we are here to help. And hopefully, if I go to, or our guys will go to Croatia, and actually Finquer is doing that.
Yes.
They went to Croatia and they talked to a national bank, and it was introduced, and hopefully we work together. That's the way we can improve and even innovate, because you're right. So innovation, maybe regulation is innovation. Sometimes, yeah, we have the same.
It enforces innovation.
We can use it. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much
much for the moderation. Thank you guys. Thank you to the panelists. It's lunchtime.